The Obama administration dealing with foreign policy issues on many fronts, a few of them being the controversial nuclear deal with Iran, the continued violence in Syria, and big tensions with China over its new air defense zone over those disputed islands in the South China Sea, Some are now wondering if the U.S. is as strong as it once was on the world stage. A big concern our traditional allies. An op-ed in the Washington Post comparing the president to a former Soviet leader, saying, quote, "Is President Obama an American version of Mikhail Gorbachev, the leader whose well-intentioned reforms led to the demise of his country's global power?" That's the anxiety a traveler hears these days from worried U.S. allies. Author Christian Whiten is here. He addresses the government's inability to effectively neutralize foreign threats in his book, Smart Power Between Diplomacy and War. The former State Department senior advisor and author, Christian Whiten, joins us now. Christian, hello to you first of all. What is your take on the general frustration that U.S. allies have with the White House? Then weigh in, if you will, on some of the specific concerns.
Right. Well, good to see you, Arthel. It looks like we've reached a turning point. You know, there have been things in the past that have caused allies around the globe to worry about the U.S. When this administration came into office, it essentially betrayed Poland and the Czech Republic, our two best allies in Central Europe, who had stuck their necks out to host air missile defense systems. That made Russia very mad. We then canceled the program, so those allies got the downside of Russia's ire and didn't get the upside of the missile defense and the greater cooperation with the U.S. You have the pivot to Asia, which the administration announced to great fanfare. But then when you look, there hasn't really been a pivot to Asia. There's been no plus-up of forces that is real. And this administration can't even bring itself to call China an adversary or to say that we would like to contain China's ambitions. And now the big thing is this deal with Iran that was worked out in Geneva over Iran's nuclear program. None of our allies think that's a good move. They think we're giving too much, getting too little. And this is something that's very unique. It's unified former enemies in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, the Gulf states, and Israel, all on the same side, that are concerned that basically they're going to have to go it alone for the next 3 years.
So, Christian, if the sands of global power is slipping through his fingers, then who stands in best position to collect it? Is it Russia? You mentioned Russia. Is it China? Is it Iran?
I think the two big threats are right now, especially nation-state threats, are Iran and China. Of course, we also have to worry about Islamists who are doing pretty well in places like Libya, well, really everywhere. But the problem with China and the new air defense identification zone that they declared, this is only the latest step in a series of provocations. They have disputes with all of their maritime neighbors and also with India. They're really pushing the peripheries, physically pushing the periphery of cyberspace and not getting a lot of pushback. I mean, you know, they asked the U.S. commander, our top admiral in the Pacific, the head of Pacific Command, what's the biggest threat in your region? He didn't say China. He didn't say North Korea. He said climate change.
So then what should the pushback be in that case, Christian?
I think we should make the pivot real. I mean, first of all, it's a bit misleading, I think, to make this pivot to Asia centered around just the military. I mean, our relationships within Asia are much more commercial. I mean, there's more to it and cultural, but make the military change real. We don't need troops, frankly, in Europe anymore. Let Europeans defend Europe, and we need to shift to the Pacific where we have this nation-state threat from China, and also just start pushing back on China's claims. Don't adapt their language that there's only one China, or that, if you look at the language that they use with Taiwan, it's really quite threatening. And I think we just need to be much clearer that China is a serious threat, and we need to stop facilitating their theft of our military secrets, our intellectual property, and their military encroachments. Also, I think we could get a lot more bang for our buck in the military. We don't need to increase defense spending, but we need to reform procurement, stop spending $13 billion on aircraft carriers, and get a lot smarter.
There are many complexities to this, as you know, Christian, but we are out of time, so I do have to leave it there. I appreciate your analysis. Christian Whiten.